Hello, today we're going to talk about comparative and superlative adjectives and adverbs. We'll start with comparative adjectives. Here is a list of a few adjectives. Let's compare them. So short becomes shorter, wide becomes wider. The rule here is if we have a short adjective with one syllable, we just add er, or if the adjective already ends in e, we just add r. Big becomes bigger. This is a one-syllable adjective as well, but if the adjective ends in a consonant, vowel, consonant combination, we double the last consonant and add er. So a vowel is A, E, I, O, U, consonant B, C, D, F, G, and so on. Here, big, B is a consonant, I is a vowel, G is a consonant. So we double the G and add er. Easy becomes easier. Here we have a two-syllable adjective that ends in y. Easy. We take off the y and add ier. The next adjective is longer. Expensive becomes more expensive. So if an adjective has two or more syllables, we put more in front of it, or less if we want the opposite. So expensive has three syllables. Expensive. Good, bad, and far become better, worse, farther, or further. These three are irregular adjectives. The good news is there are only three irregular adjectives to learn. Let's talk about using them now. We use comparative adjectives to compare two things, or to compare one thing to a group of things. For example, I am shorter than my sister. The girl was taller than the other students in the class. Notice we use than after the comparative. This shows us what we are comparing to. We can say, I am shorter than her, so we can replace the noun with a pronoun, but it must be an object pronoun. If we use the subject pronoun, she, we need to use an auxiliary verb with it. So I am shorter than she is. We can use much with a comparative to show that the difference is big. For example, the girl was much taller than the other students in the class. We can never use more with a comparative, only with an adjective. So, for example, the watch is more expensive than the clock. That is correct. But the watch is more nicer than the clock? No, we can't say that because more and nicer are both comparatives. We can only use one. Let's talk about superlative adjectives now. Using the same adjectives as before, let's turn them into the superlative form. So short becomes shortest, wide becomes widest. Again, the rule is an adjective with one syllable, we just add est or st if it already has an e at the end of it. Big becomes biggest. So again, if an adjective ends in a consonant vowel consonant combination, we double the last consonant. So here we double the G and then add est. easy becomes easiest. So a two-syllable adjective that ends in Y, we take off the Y and add iest. Expensive becomes most expensive. The longer adjectives with two or more syllables, we say most with the adjective, or the opposite would be least with the adjective. Good becomes best, bad becomes worst, far becomes farthest or furthest. Again, these three are the irregular ones. So using superlative adjectives, we use them to compare more than two things. For example, I am the shortest out of my friends. So I have many friends. There are more than two of us, say 5, 6, however many. I am the shortest out of all of them. The girl was the tallest in her class. Notice we use the with the superlative. We use the because there is only one superlative out of all of them. We can, instead of using the, use a possessive pronoun. For example, we can say she's my best friend. So instead of the, we use my. We can use by far with a superlative to show that there is a big difference. For example, the girl was by far the tallest in her class. We can never use most with a superlative, only with an adjective. For example, the watch is the most expensive item. That is correct. But the watch is the most nicest I've ever seen. That is not. So, like before, we can't use most with nicest, like we can't use more with nicer, because we can't use two superlatives together. So there are other ways that we can compare as well. If we look at these letters, we can see that A is very big, B and C are medium-sized and they are the same, and D is very small. So to compare these letters, we can say A is bigger than B, or B is smaller than A, to use the opposite adjective. A is the biggest, or D is the smallest. We can say B is the same size as C, or B is as big as C. They both mean the same. D is not as big as C. That's the same as saying C is bigger than D, or D is smaller than C. So note the same size as. Here we've got the article the with same and then a noun followed by as. Whereas we've got as big as, we've got as with an adjective and as. And they both mean the same thing, just two different ways of saying it. Not as big as means that it's smaller. It's less than C. Okay. So we can compare adverbs by using comparative adverbs to compare the actions. We can use a short adverb with ER, like faster and harder, And with other adverbs, like slowly, carefully, we use more with the adverb, similarly to the adjectives. There are only two irregular comparatives, and they are well becomes better, badly becomes worse. To help you, those are the same as the comparative adjectives. We can use not as with an adverb as. For example, Sam doesn't drive as slowly as Pat. So that would mean Pat is drives more slowly than Sam. Okay. If we say Sam drives as slowly as Pat, that would mean they both drive equally slowly. Here is a little bit of practice for you. Look at these sentences. How do we change the adjective at the end to fit the space given? You need to think about whether you need a comparative form or a superlative form. You might need to add some missing words. Pause here while you think about it. Let's check. So number one, I think a bar of chocolate is heavier than a cupcake. Number two, the furthest I've ever flown is from Moscow to Texas. Number three, a pearl necklace is more expensive than a silver ring. Number four, he writes more slowly than I do. Number five, the best time to go to a supermarket is early in the morning. There's less people there. Number six, yesterday was the hottest day of the year. Paul thinks going by train is the most exciting form of transport. More practice for you. This time, you need to complete the sentences with just one word. There is only one word missing in each sentence. Pause here while you think about it. Let's check. Number one, a bus isn't as comfortable as a coach. Number two, it's the most amazing view I've ever seen. So here we need the because it's a superlative. Number three, the day went much better than we thought it would. We have a comparative here, so we need than after it. Number four, this is the best book I've ever read. So notice we often use the superlative with the present perfect and ever to show at any time in your life. Number five, the most beautiful church I've ever seen was in Russia. So again, we've got the present perfect with ever. So we need a superlative form, most. Number six, my husband works late, but I work later than him, the object pronoun. Number seven, I finish work at the same time as my sister. And number eight, what's the most interesting castle in the UK? When we use a superlative and we're talking about a place, we always use in, not of. Of would be out of a group, whereas in would be in a place. If that's helped you, thank you for watching.